Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be covering an issue that I've already covered multiple times in past videos, and it's not, let me just say first and foremost, in case those of you who are just now watching my video and you haven't watched my past videos, let me just say first and foremost that I'm not racist, I'm not a nationalist per se, I'm not Islamophobic or anything of the sorts. I don't give a shit if these illegal immigrants or asylum seekers, I don't give a shit if they were fucking Irish people that had landed in the U.S. and they were crossing our border illegally. I'd be saying the same goddamn thing. And why? And let me just say, I've heard people make these arguments about, that are against the illegal asylum seekers. I've heard people put the fucking social arguments or the skin color arguments or the heritage or cultural background, the differences. I've heard all those arguments, or how they're going to change the political landscape of Canada. And you know what? Some of them are valid arguments. Some of them I actually agree with. But for me, those are secondary in nature, quite far as far as it goes in my mind, and as far as what these illegal asylum seekers are, the profound effect they're having on the Canadian culture and the Canadian population, as those social aspects are secondary in nature, way back compared to the fucking fact that, hey, we live in a welfare state. All Western countries, we have what's called a welfare state, right? Well, basically forced wealth or income redistribution, where the government gets to take from you and give to whoever they fucking deem worthy of your income that you work for hard, right? Well, I know I fucking do. But they think, they feel that it's appropriate to take income from you, or now at the point, I mean, look at the debt levels. Actually, they're not even taken from you anymore, because your tax levels would be in excess of 100, 200 fucking percent be able to pay for all this shit. Because there's so many unfunded liabilities and promises and entitlements that, look at the debts. They're not being paid for. That's why the debts keep rising. That's why deficits continue. No. They're actually now enslaving future successive generations and the unborn to try to pay for this shit. And they hope that they can make this happen, and somehow it'll play out, that'll be a net benefit for us all. But you should know yourself. What is the real benefit that you might gain, even if there's a secondary benefit of the fact that if I steal from you, if I stole your wallet, and let's say some point in time in the future I gave you back, you had $1,000 in your wallet, and some point in the future I gave you back $100, would I really be able to make a claim that I was so benevolent and I was thinking about your best interest when I stole your wallet? And oh well, look, I just happened to, hey, don't worry, I got you. Here's your $100 back. Well, wait a minute, I had a fucking 1,000. Where's the other 900? Well, we had to use that for this, and this. That's basically what the government's telling you. So even if they grease your palms a little bit on the back end, keep things in perspective, people. First, I'm going to be referencing a National Post article in regards to this particular situation, and just listen to the headline and how detrimental things are truly getting. Toronto faces having to close community centers, cancel programs to house migrant tide from U.S. So, those are escaping persecution from Trump, the Trump administration, right? Like as if, and listen to the people on the left side of the political spectrum and those media pundits or those fucking propagandists, how they talk about Trump down the south, as if he's like what, the modern Mussolini or Hitler or Stalin, or the way they talk about it as if, he's just really persecuting people. No, these fucking people are in their country, whether they're in the U.S. or Canada, and sponging off us all. And like I say, I don't necessarily blame them. Hey, if someone left a fucking, a pile of money outside and said, hey, come take it. Well, if people come and take it, I'm not going to blame the people that come and take it. I am going to blame the fucking idiot that left that fucking money out, especially if any of it is mine or yours, or hers, or his, or whoever's, right? But that's what we're dealing with today, folks. So screw the social, go ahead, use them. Because, some of them are very much relevant and pertaining to this issue. But the most important thing, like I say, don't let them fucking try to stereotype you or put you in the corner by suggesting that you're a racist. An economic argument denies all that bullshit. And the economics of it is undeniable as far as how this is going to play out, how it's going to unfold, and how it affects the Canadian population. In a few weeks, 800 migrants in college dorms must give way to students. But city shelters are full and the system is at a breaking point, Mayor John Tory says. Toronto's emergency shelter system is past capacity, can no longer accommodate new refugees or asylum seekers, Mayor John Tory warned Monday. More than 3,200 asylum seekers were spread across the Toronto shelter system as of June 20. Tory told the city's MPs in an urgent bid for more federal and provincial cash and cooperation. So it's not that he's against it. Tory, I mean, fucking, he's not going to pay for any of this shit. He's just looking, hey, get some of these, and that's another thing. Whether it's federal, provincial, a tax serf, a tax slave, a wage serf, a wage slave, whether there's someone from Ontario or fucking Quebec or what, federal, like this is the thing with federal or provincial, it's, you're all still fucking over certain people. It's just a matter of picking who you're going to screw over to pay up or pony up for all this fucking bullshit. To me, like I say, it's, I don't make no, it's like, oh, if I lived in, let's say, New Brunswick right now, and the people in Ontario were going to be forced to be paid for it instead, provincially, do you think I'd be like, oh, well, whoo, good, that's a good thing it's not me? No, I'd be fucking saying, hey, you shouldn't be able to fuck with the Ontario people either. Just because I get to fucking escape this shit because it's, you know, a provincial thing instead of federal, I'm still going to be principled enough to say, no. Don't steal from the Ontario people just because the people in New Brunswick get to avoid or escape that theft, that wealth or income redistribution, to pay for people that are coming here to fucking compete with them for their jobs, for the housing. That's the other thing. Think about it. These people are going to compete with you, the naturalized citizens of Canada, for your jobs, for your houses, for so many things. So, like I say, it has nothing to do with the social aspects. Economics alone is enough to show how much of a detriment it is to allow, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of illegal asylum seekers into this country. Many of the asylum seekers crossed into Canada at Roxham Road on the Quebec border with New York State before finding their way to Toronto. They're part of an unusual influx of migrants heading north from the United States that is straining all parts of Canada's refugee system. And I mean, the fact that, like, the domestic population, you know, the people that are fucking truly poor and in desperate need of help, right? The pretense of the social contract, that's been totally ripped the fuck up because they don't give a shit about those people, do they? No. They're willing to fucking put them in precarious situations so that these people that are crossing the border illegally can take precedent, take priority over the domestic population. Think about how fucked up they are when they put complete strangers at a much higher point on the priority list than the domestic population. These people, like I say, these central planners, they have no loyalty. They're globalists, like I say, no loyalty whatsoever. No even pretense or conceptual belief in the social contract, which, like I say, I'm not a big fan of it either, but hey, the pretense is out there. That's the whole point of government, is the pretense of a social construct or social contract. But yet now, when it's politically convenient, they try to avoid or deny the fact that that's supposed to exist. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description of the video, but we're going to move on to an audio segment from a CBC YouTube video in regards to these asylum seekers, these illegal asylum seekers, and this whole new push for mass immigration into Canada.
Now to what brought Trudeau to Toronto today to meet with Ontario's new Premier, Doug Ford, for the first time since the provincial election. Clashes were expected over climate policy as the two are deeply divided on the issue. But then, moments before the closed-door talks, the Ontario PC government set the stage for another fight by publicly denouncing Ottawa's handling of asylum seekers. So how did the meeting play out? The CBC's Mike Crowley was on the scene and joins us now from Queen's Park. Hey, Mike, thanks for being with us. So what happened?
Well, Vashi, this issue of immigration, illegal immigration, asylum seekers really dominated the meeting somewhat unexpectedly. It kind of got kicked off by this statement that was put out just before the Prime Minister arrived for his meeting. The tone of it from the Premier Doug Ford's spokesperson, saying that the federal government encouraged illegal border crossers to come into our country. This has resulted in a housing crisis and threats to the services that Ontario Ontario families depend on. So naturally, this was one of the questions to ask the Prime Minister as soon as he came out of the meeting. He said that he and Premier Doug Ford agreed that it would be good for their officials to sit down and talk about this issue. But he says that he tried to reassure the Premier that the asylum seeker system is separate from the immigration system. Take a listen.
It didn't seem to me that the Premier was quite as aware of our international obligations to the UN Convention on Refugees.
Okay, I'm just going to cover right now, before I continue playing the next portion of this video, that, you know, in the country of Canada, yeah, you are not beholden to follow the laws, the arbitrary edicts of the fucking United Nations, of people who represent countries from fucking all around the fucking world. Like, this is the problem with trying to create this fucking pretense that we're all the same and we can have one world government. No! We can't fucking allow this shit. I am not going to fucking follow the rules or edicts of fucking people in other fucking countries. I'm sorry, because, listen, there's some fucking countries where they make the most ridiculous fucking rules on the fucking planet, where they fucking kill people for the stupidest shit. You think I give a fuck about what their rules say? You think I give a fuck about the laws at the United Nations that a bunch of fucking central planning hacks and authoritarians conjure up in their fucking mind and try to implement it and make it like that? I'm supposed to give a fuck about it? Fuck off, Trudeau. I don't give a... First of all, I don't even recognize this piece of shit's authority over me. Never mind some fucking stranger from some foreign country. I mean, what the fuck? What a fucking piece of shit this guy is. As if, oh, because there's some fucking agreement, some fucking central planning hack, some authoritarians conjured up somewhere, you know, whether it was in the 40s, 50s, 60s, or even fucking today. Yeah, oh, you're going to take my income, or you're going to force me or my fucking kids or anyone that I know that I got to fucking pay for and pony up for these fucking illegal asylum seekers that are pouring across the border thanks to this asshole's tweet that says, hey, come on in. I'm not going to pay for you, but don't worry, I'll make the Canadian people fucking pony up, right? Fuck you, Trudeau. Fuck you.
Might have been, so I spent a little time explaining how the asylum-seeking system works and how our system... Like, this fucking guy can't even barely put together a fucking coherent sentence or two without fucking stumbling all over himself. And I'm supposed to give a fuck what this asshole says? Yeah, you're goddamn right I'm pissed off when I hear this fucking piece of shit more or less pretend or put forth the message, you know, to tell the, especially he's probably trying to gear this towards the young people. Oh yeah, you're supposed to do this. Oh no, it's not just your political masters domestically, locally, provincially, and federally that you gotta put up with. They're fucking political edicts. No, you gotta put up with fucking idiots that are from completely different geographical locations, these authoritarian petty thugs and fucking tyrants. You gotta listen to their fucking political edicts as well. And you better do it, or I'll make you feel guilty. Fuck you, Trudeau. Our system is supposed to operate.
And the Prime Minister says he gave those assurances to Premier Ford that it's important that the immigration system and the asylum system is working actively. Okay? Vashi?
So what is the Ford government saying in response to all of that?
The minister who's responsible for immigration, Lisa MacLeod, she came out after Cabinet, so this was after the meeting ended, and she had some fairly strong words for the Prime Minister, basically saying that if the Trudeau government wants to bring people into the country, they need to be sure that they are paid for.
The reality is we've got a Prime Minister who's created a problem with 28,000 people who illegally crossed the border into Canada and who has really only sent a few people back, but at the same time has seen a massive pressure on the largest city in the country, here in Toronto.
Now, the Mayor of Toronto has indicated that the cost to the city is somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 million. But I asked Minister MacLeod, you know, how significant is this thing that she's calling a crisis? She said there's maybe 800 people that have come into Ontario that she would class as illegal border crossers. She says that she is looking into the cost that this is having on Ontario's social assistance system and the health system. Vashi?
Thanks, Mike. So what will the federal government do now? Pony up the cash for Ontario's refugees or try to convince the PC government that this is a shared responsibility? Joining me now is the Minister of Immigration, Refugees.
Okay, first of all, pony up the cash? Holy fuck! It ain't gonna be Trudeau. It ain't gonna be any of his cabinet. It ain't gonna be this piece of shit Hussein. And it's not gonna be even Doug fucking Ford or any of the fucking PC conservatives in the Ontario fucking Conservative Party. None of these politicians are gonna pay for this shit. So when they talk about this in this collective manner, oh, who's gonna pay for it? It's gonna be you. It's gonna be I. It's gonna be the fucking unborn, right? The fucking future tax serfs and wage slaves in fucking Canada. Those are the people that's going to be forced to pay for it. Stop playing this game that there's a we. There is no fucking we. There's the ruling class that gets to dictate, control, and dominate where your fucking income goes. Or at this point, half and even more than that where it goes. So like I say, we're... Slavery? Yeah, it exists. Yeah, it fucking exists. Is it full on 100% slavery? No. No, nowadays we got, what? 50 to 75% fucking slavery. So you're 25% free economically, Canada. Does that make you feel good? You better enjoy that little bit of 25% because fucking Trudeau and his dipshits, they're looking to figure out ways to get that last bit where they can dip their fucking fingers in the pocket a little bit more. Maybe it's to give it to fucking where? They've never found a fucking cause they couldn't virtue signal for where they couldn't fucking create some bleeding heart ad or rhetoric or a story where it's like, you should feel guilty, Canada. You should be fucking, hey, yeah, I know, you know, things aren't as easy as they used to be, and I know things are getting real difficult for you out there economically, but hey, shit's worse in other fucking countries, so you should pony up and fucking make them fucking, you know, raise them up to your level and sacrifice yourself for them. What for, Trudeau? Are you doing it? Hey, let me see. Lead by example, dipshit. When I see you starting to fucking donate your little trust fund money, all of it, or 3/4 of it, then I might start following your fucking lead, although probably not. But let's see you lead by example, you piece of shit.
And citizenship, Ahmed Hussein. Hi, Minister Hussein. Thanks for being with us again. We just heard...
And that's another thing. Our immigration minister under the Trudeau Liberals, Ahmed Hussein. Canada, you say? Ahmed Hussein, of course, the fucking guy. I mean, look at it. Look at the visuals. Look at what this represents, folks. Look at it. You know, and like I say, I'm not fucking racist, but hello. Don't fucking tell. This guy has no fucking loyalty to fucking Canada. What, you think he gives a fuck about? He probably, when he's off camera, he loathes you as a white person. He's one of those people in Canada, no doubt, that just wants to change the demographics of this country for the sheer fact that he wants to see more people like him. Because he is a fucking racist. He's all about skin color, apparently. Well, that's what the Libertarians are all about. That's what the left, that's one thing I've recognized now. And it took a little while. It took a little while growing up until I realized, but it's just letting that anecdotal evidence, let it all flood in. Let me see how it all plays out. And you know what? Yeah, it's the fucking left. It's those on the left. And no wonder they have to do the social fucking manipulation because they are the most racist, most homophobic, most fucking sexist, most perverted fucking people that you will ever meet on the planet. And I'm just making right now a disclaimer that, no, it's not all of them, but those who identify on the left, on average, are the ones that are fucking causing the most shit in this country, and people that try to suggest that it might be the fucking conservatives, really though, and trust me, I reserve a lot of disdain for those on the right, those, especially those social conservatives, or those law enforcement motherfuckers. Oh, we gotta come down with a heavy hand of enforcement of the law. Yeah, military and the police, oh, we love them. Oh, believe me, I can't stand any of those pieces of shit. Because they're like, oh, are you out there? No, they stand back in the fucking corner in their little suit while some mindless enforcer carries out the political edicts for them. So, cowards completely. But at least left, believe it or not, the left seem to be a lot less cowardly. Look, this fucking asshole's more than willing to sit in front of the fucking camera and promote this kind of bullshit and kind of chuckle and smile about it at the same time. So, you right-wingers, oh, fuck, like I say, and Scheer at the helm, holy Christ almighty. Anyways, don't even let me start down that road for this video because, well, I'll never finish. Anyways, let's continue on.
The Prime Minister suggests that Premier Ford doesn't completely understand Canada's international obligations when it comes to asylum seekers. What does that mean?
First of all, it's important to note that, as the Prime Minister has stated, that it is really important to understand that Canadians expect all levels of government to work together on issues. We may not agree on everything, but we are expected to work together on issues that face our country. On the issue of housing, it's a shared responsibility. On the issue of immigration, we have a great immigration system in this country. Asylum seekers we have international obligations as well as domestic laws to apply when it comes to asylum seekers. These are not optional issues. This is the law that we can't just opt out of.
Oh, not optional, huh? Who writes the law, dipshit? Bunch of fucking piece of shit losers like yourself and central planning hacks and authoritarians. Don't they get changed all the time? You know, don't these political decrees, isn't that literally the point of the legislative fucking body of any fucking government, is you get to change in effect and reinvent laws and political edicts all the time? So you can change it. But yet, see, this is the political messaging this piece of shit wants to say is, oh, you better fucking do it because it's law. Well, what is the law? No, the genuine law is, you know, anything that has to do with protecting people from forced subjugation, theft, slavery, you know, rape, murder, assault. Those are genuine laws, and they're universal in their morals and their ethics. But political decrees is what he's really referencing here, is completely up in the air and open to interpretation and completely determined on the fucking minds of these fucking sociopathic authoritarians. So they can write something. I mean, I can write something on a piece of paper and say, hey, it's law. Does it really fucking mean anything? It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Whether I have a suit on, whether I have a badge on, or whether I'm fucking butt naked, shouldn't matter. If it's immoral, if it's unjust, or if it's a pretense that you get to take forcefully and steal from people and give it to others, that's not a fucking law. That's a political edict. That's an authoritarian measure, folks.
And so once someone is on Canadian soil and they claim asylum, we have international obligations.
Oh, I can opt out of Hussein. Listen, Mr. Hussein, let me just tell you right now. Not only am I opting out of your bullshit fucking propagandist lies, but yeah, of course I opt out of all your fucking political edicts. I don't abide by it because you're not my authority. You never have been and you never fucking will be. These fucking dipshits, you know that? And you need to tell the same fucking thing. You need to let them know that you're not my fucking authority. Fuck you. But yeah, he doesn't own me. He doesn't own my family. He doesn't own my offspring. He doesn't own any future successive generation of mine. He doesn't own anyone. There's no self-ownership, motherfucker. My money, the products of the fruits of my labor and my intellect, that shit's mine. You don't fucking deserve 1 cent of it, and I'm going to fucking fight tooth and nail to keep every cent of it, and it sure as shit ain't going to go to fucking give these fucking illegal asylum seekers a fucking leg up to fucking, you know, over my own children or my grandchildren. Not going to happen. Keep fucking believing. Keep pretending that you have that authority, but like I say, I'll keep pushing back as long as I have a breath left in my body.
To provide them due process to make sure that their claims are at least heard. Once they're here, the provision of housing is a shared responsibility. We understand the pressures that provinces have faced with respect to this issue, even though in the last number of months the numbers have been dropping and the numbers are promising. The federal government has stepped up. We have invested more than $173 million in budget 2018 for more border security operations as well as faster process.
The federal government has not stepped up to invest a fucking dime. Have you seen the debts of the federal government? If you're in fucking debt more than you fucking bring in, how the fuck do you have any money to spend? Eh? How about you as a personal individual? How about your family? How about anyone in your community? How the fuck is it that you have money to spend when you're fucking broke and badly in debt and running deficits all the time? Huh? What? No, they don't have a fucking, like I said, they're saying, oh, don't worry, we got future fucking Canadians that haven't even taken their first breath yet. Oh, they'll cover that. Don't worry. Fuck you, Hussein. Fuck you, Trudeau. And fuck anyone else that promotes this kind of bullshit. Anyways, I'm going to tie up this video because as you can see, this shit really grinds my gears and really pissed me off. And like I said, it has nothing to do with racism. Has nothing to do with, like I said, it wouldn't matter if this fucking dipshit had brown hair and fucking blue eyes. Or blonde hair and blue eyes. I'd be saying the same fucking thing. What you think you have access to my fucking money? To my productivity, to what I provide that has economic or financial attributes attached to it? What the fuck? Like I say, no, I am not your slave. I am not your servant. I'm not your subject. And neither is anyone that I know, and we're all getting really sick of listening to the political rhetoric and propaganda that piece of shit like this Hussein or fucking Trudeau is trying to espouse. And the day is going to come. Listen, they think for now, they think, oh, we got the political messaging, we got the rhetoric, and we got it down, and we run the establishment. Things change, motherfucker. Things change. And you better recognize that things are changing now. You know, a smart person, what this tells me how fucking stupid and idiotic these people are. And how short-term their thinking really is. Because in reality, if they fucking saw or recognized the writing on the wall, this fucker, not only wouldn't he be refused to say this shit or espouse this kind of bullshit rhetoric for the fucking CBC, the communist broadcast fucking corporation in Canada, not only would he fucking refuse to do it, he'd be fucking already goddamn left this country and be fucking made a mad dash for somewhere else. Because the day of reckoning is coming for you motherfuckers. The day of reckoning will come. And that has nothing to do with using preemptive force against you. But like I say, defense. Canadians will defend themselves. Mark my fuck, and we've done it many times throughout the past. And like I say, it sounds a little collective there, but each individual has a fucking boiling point, has a breaking point. And the left, and even the right under Andrew Scheer, and these fucking, Jasmine Singh, NDP, the breaking point's fucking getting pretty close here. And it's not just the fact that you fuckers are trying to enslave them socially, but economically. When it comes to economics, you better recognize and realize that, yeah, you try to steal people's wallet, doesn't matter if they're on the right or the left, they're going to get pissed off once they recognize that you're actually trying to do so. So, the majority, the bulk of the population, will all come together to push back against this eventually. Once it starts to affect their bottom line, their wallets, or their personal incomes, watch how it unfolds. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.